emotional intelligence in sales. In life, emotional intelligence or emotional quotient, it's known as the ability to be aware, to use, to understand, and to handle emotions. It also refers to the way we respond to the emotions of others. It primarily involves self-awareness. However, when having a high level of emotional intelligence, it also means that one person is capable of viewing and understanding things from the perspective of others. Our emotional intelligence allows us to respond accordingly to different settings, different situations, and it comes to play an important role, especially during stressful and difficult times. Many studies have been done on the subject, and a healthy emotional intelligence level can boost an individual's mental health, job and business performances, and leadership skills. For us, as we focus on sales, the emotional intelligence, or the EQ, would play a very important role in our sales conversations. And it's something that it's considered a must-have for any successful person, especially if they are in any kind of leadership role. For this reason, I want to start by focusing on the concept of empathy and the role that this plays in the journey of becoming the most successful salesperson possible. First, let me make the distinction between empathy and sympathy. Some people believe that these two concepts are pretty much the same thing. Some see them differently. However, not many fully know the extent and the finesse of the actual differences between the two, and don't recognize their different applications. To clarify, sympathy means that one person feels like another person feels, or one person feels sorry for the other person. For example, when you are at an amusement park and after riding a roller coaster, one of your friends that you rode with is feeling sick, and suddenly you are feeling sick too, even though you've been fine right before they started feeling bad, that is sympathy. You are feeling exactly what your friend is feeling. It will also be sympathy if you felt bad for your friend, so bad that you will start feeling down because of their situation. Another example would be when your significant other is angry and is sharing some news with you in that state of anger. And while you're hearing them, you become angry yourself. That is sympathy. They transfer that emotion and you are caught into it. The same can happen with sadness, with joy, with a full range of emotions. On the other hand, empathy, in the first example, would be to understand that your friend is being sick because of the roller coaster ride and to offer them some comfort, like a cold towel, and sitting with them on a bench until they feel better. Empathy in the second example would be to listen to the angry news that your spouse or significant other is sharing with you and to understand the reasons behind their anger without being affected by it, and to offer them comfort or a viable solution for whatever problem they have which caused that anger. Imagine going to see a therapist or a coach because you have trouble sleeping, or because you have a deep sadness, or because you need a self-confidence boost, whatever the reason. And imagine that your therapist or your coach, depending on the situation, it's sympathetic and they start feeling sorry for you after listening to your story. And if you happen to be very sad or depressed, they absorb all that energy and they become sad and depressed as well. How is that of any benefit to you or to them? If the person who is trying to help you has sympathy for you, and then they suddenly become sad when you are sad without giving you actual tools or an actual solution to help you with that issue, then they will be totally unsuccessful at their jobs, in their careers. So instead of being sympathetic, a therapist or a coach are usually empathetic because they understand your problems, and through therapy or through a coaching program with them, keeping an emotional distance from your problems, they are helping you reach a solution. Do you see the difference? It's the same difference between jumping in the ocean with no equipment at all and no plan in order to help somebody who's struggling to stay afloat due to a strong current, versus throwing them a safety flotation device or getting some qualified help. Many people think that jumping into the ocean to help, it's the best solution. However, very often it happens, there are cases proven that the rescuer and the one they are trying to help get caught, they get caught in the current, and a lose-lose situation is created that way. Often staying outside a crisis and not submerging yourself deep into the problem will give you the clarity to come up with great solutions to help others. Unlike popular belief, this approach doesn't make people selfish. When the airlines tell us, in case of an emergency, put your oxygen mask first before you attempt to help others, they don't tell us to be selfish. They give us the best proven approach to survival and to being able to help others as well. Of course, all this depends on each situation, but I hope that my examples put things in perspective and make you realize that often you can help much more if you are emotionally detached from the problem, from the client, from a friend or a situation, because that way you can see things from a different perspective than they do, and you can really, truly make a difference. As an exercise, I would like for you to think of a time when you spoke to a friend or with a family member about something that was on your mind, a problem that you needed a solution to, and identify how did they react to what you said. If you were sad and crying, did they start being sad and crying as well, even though your problem was not their problem? Did they feel sorry for you, or did they listen? They understood your reason for sadness and they gave you some solutions on how to get past that situation. Now, I want you to think of yourself as being that person that was comforting another friend or family member in their time of need. Have you ever had a friend who wanted to talk to you because they were upset or they were angry about something or about someone? Think about it and remember, what was your approach to that? By identifying these real life examples and by identifying your own behavior, you can identify your current level of emotional intelligence, and this will help you figure out if you need to work on your empathy skills or not. With these examples being told, let's come back to selling and see how empathy can help you bring solutions to your clients. Of course, working with clients who are strangers, not family members, not friends, it's different because the sympathetic emotional connection, it's less likely to stand in your way. However, you will be surprised to how many people get caught up in other people's problems and lose the sight of the solution that really matters. I will start this part of the lecture by saying this. Ideally, I would love for you to get to the point where you see yourselves, salespeople, having the same role as a coach or as a therapist. And that is to help a client, to ease their pain, to help them live a better, easier, more comfortable life, to fit in that old pair of jeans when they reach their physical goals. And the way you do that, it's by showing empathy towards them, by listening to their problem, and by offering solutions for them. And when I say solutions, I mean sometimes product if you're selling, right? An empathetic salesperson, it's looking to improve someone's life, not just selling them something. An empathetic coach, when it sells its product or its services, wants to help people change their lifestyle, and that goes way beyond the actual sale. Years ago, shortly after I've arrived to the United States, my first job was as the cosmetics sales manager at the Shiseido counter at our local Macy's. Shiseido is one of the most well-known cosmetic companies in the world, based in Japan, with a reputation for their amazing skincare products. However, in the United States, it only has a small presence in the store because many people have never heard of it. But those who know skincare and who know Shiseido are pretty loyal to the brand. When I started, I had no idea of Shiseido, but I took the job because it was available and I needed it. I ran the Shiseido counter for a few years while I was going to school for my business degree. And without any modesty, for the years working there, I've had the highest amount of revenue increase, in parallel with the fact that I had the highest number of repeated clients, facials scheduled, makeup appointments from all Shiseido counters in the state of Florida. My average revenue increase was 25% a year, which is pretty high considering that Shiseido, it's not a known line like Clinique or Lancome or Dior or Chanel or so. Every time somebody would ask me, how do you do it? My answer will be simple. I offer solutions to my clients and I take my time to first educate myself and to research about the chemistry, the ingredients in the product I'm selling. Beyond those little pamphlets that come with each box, right? So I did research. I also used the product myself and I gave it to my friends and family. This way, I knew how the skin reacts, how it feels, how it smells, the texture, how the makeup gets applied on the skincare, etc. And not only mine, but others around me as well. A thing about me is that I have Asperger's. And if you know anything about that, most of us lack the ability to empathize to a deep level with others. And for me, knowing that, in order to be able to empathize better with my clients and therefore help them, I chose to take some extra psychology courses for myself so I can become a better salesperson. I did this because I've learned that you can have the most technical knowledge, like I do. I like technicalities, but if you like empathy, you cannot fully connect with people and you cannot truly help them. My clients would be, coming back to me because they felt both that I am knowledgeable, I knew the actual facts, but also that I care. And how do you show that you care? First of all, you listen actively to what they have to say. You identify problems, you offer real solutions, and you follow up. But without having worked on my emotional intelligence levels, I would have never been able to offer empathy, and that would have hurt my business. So I have been in sales jobs all my life, and I have been a salesperson even, before Macy's. And from my own experience, I know that I appreciate when I feel that somebody truly puts an effort into helping me when I buy something. Not because they want to sell me something so they can make a commission or so they can reach their quotas, but because they truly care and they believe in what they're selling. I want to emphasize the fact that you make a sale every time you smile, every time you make eye contact, and of course, every time you actually make a sales presentation. Zig Ziglar used to say, the prospect either sells you that they can't or won't buy, or you sell them that they can and should buy. When I first started my first sales job, I was sympathetic, not empathetic. First sales job was when I was 16 in a little clothing store that my mom's friend had. And every time a potential client would stop by and take a look at those dresses, those clothes, they will walk away sometimes uninterested. And I somehow would take it personal, right? Like they were rejecting me. One day, a young lady walked in the store. She was pretty modestly dressed, clean though, and she spoke very politely. So I showed her a few different dresses, and throughout the conversation, she told me that she's coming from some Romanian countryside village and that she grew up with just a very small, limited amount of clothes. And sometimes in the winter, she would be very cold. So I had so much sympathy for her situation that even though it was in the middle of the summer in Bucharest, I literally started shivering hearing her story. I felt so bad for her because the dress that, she was looking to buy was not cheap. And without realizing, I was sabotaging not only my sales, but I was sabotaging her as well through my sympathy. She asked me which one of those dresses I think it's going to look the best on her. However, I can tell that graciously and pleasantly, I really didn't want her to spend any money on any of those dresses we had to sell. Because in my mind, somebody like her could definitely find something cheaper. So within me, I already considered this sale as being a lost sale. I even passed that stage. I didn't care about the sale. And I focused more on helping her the way I thought it was the best solution, by helping her save money. I even suggested to her a different store that was a few blocks away that I thought that she can, go and find what she's looking for, even though she never ever said that she cannot afford it, those dresses that I had. She never said they're expensive, none of that. But in my mind, I was being very polite, and as I could have been at 16, I was not a professional, and I thought I was doing her a favor. I was confident that when she left, we parted ways on very good terms because she was smiling when she left. She didn't buy anything. The next day, my boss came to me and she pulled me aside so we can have a private conversation. I was very surprised to hear that potential client from the day before was actually her friend. And she was quite disappointed with me because I didn't sell her anything. The truth is that I stopped listening to her probably around half her story. I heard everything she said to me, but by being so sympathetic to her and feeling so bad for her, even shivering, listening how she didn't have winter clothes growing up, I did not pay attention to the fact that buying herself these dresses, or one of the dresses it was a celebration of what she's been through, showing herself how strong she is and how far she's come. So from my perspective as a salesperson, I demonstrated and I proved beyond any doubt that our dresses were beautiful, they were good quality, and I've told her everything about the product. But what I failed to do was really understanding her. I failed to pay attention to her body language, which was saying, I'm proud of myself, I can do this for myself now. This is what she was saying, and this is what the environment was saying around her whole demeanor, but I was so wrapped up in my sympathy with the problem that she was not even having anymore. It was of the past. But I lost sight, or I failed to recognize her much bigger problem. And that was the desire to do something nice for herself and to prove herself that she's worth it and that she can purchase those dresses. If I would have listened to her with empathy instead of sympathy like I did, I would have done things differently, because when we show empathy, we are emotionally detached from the problem. So we can hear it well, we can listen, and we can offer real solutions. Zig Ziglar was saying that when we have empathy, we literally move from our side of the table to the client's side of the table. And realistically, that's where the sale is going to take place. on their side. And the chance of that sale happening has greatly increased. Why? Simply because from the client side of the table, we can make a sales presentation from their point of view. This is the reason why we started this course, and we're talking about why people buy. Because understanding the reasons and the way of thinking behind buying, we will learn how to relate our sales presentations to what the buyer needs and how to put ourselves in their shoes. This is why emotional intelligence is such an important skill to master and to use in interpersonal relationships, but especially when money is involved, like in a sales transaction. Also, we all like to be seen and acknowledged. Do you know that feeling when you are talking to somebody and you kind of catch on to the fact that they are only hearing, with half their attention because the other half it's on their phone, or, they look somewhere behind you, or even if they look straight into your eyes, you still feel that they are not fully present? Those kind of conversations tend to be superficial, and people don't want to share details with others who are not fully listening anyways. However, on the other hand, when we acknowledge that someone is truly focusing on us and it's listening to us actively, the chances for us to open up and to have a meaningful conversation will grow exponentially because we feel valued. This is the mindset that needs to be applied in order to become a very successful salesperson. If you can show to your clients that they have your undivided attention, then any conversation you have with them will be left by both parties with the feeling that there is really care there, that their problems or their challenges, and most importantly, they feel that at least the topic that they need to focus on, you are an expert and they can trust you on it. Have you ever went through a sales conversation? Maybe, as the buyer in a store, and you interacted with a genuine salesperson. And suddenly you felt like, I've learned a lot. You thought that yourself. If that's the case, that means that salesperson was either very passionate about what they were saying, what they were selling, and they were really knowledgeable. Or it can mean that salesperson had a great amount of experience to make you feel that way. The truth is that at least in the beginning, if not throughout your selling career, there can be times when you are in conversations with clients and suddenly you feel like all the sales techniques that you've learned are totally gone. It's like you've forgotten everything. That's happening to a lot of sole proprietors, to a lot of coaches who are, letting themselves being coerced in a conversation, often based on sympathy. They may be coerced to lower prices because they feel sorry or they feel bad for the client for one reason or another, even though they know that what they have to offer is truly valuable. And they also know the difference between sympathy and empathy. But for some reason, in those moments, they fail to implement their knowledge. Did that ever happen to you? Many experts in self-psychology consider that emotional intelligence is the bridge between knowing, the theory learned, and doing, putting in practice that theory. By improving our self-awareness, we can grow our ability to identify and to control those triggers that make us undervalue ourselves and our services and our products. And if we have enough emotional intelligence, we can catch ourselves on this bridge during these difficult conversations, and we can identify our emotional state, being able to switch from sympathy to empathy in order to truly help the client.